The council chamber hung in space like a jewel made of crystalline light. 12 alien species sat in a circle, their bodies shimmering as holograms. They looked down at the humans standing in the center. Their eyes showed no kindness. Ambassador Hana Yu stood perfectly still. Her black suit was crisp and clean. Her face showed nothing. Behind her stood two officers in Earth military uniforms. Neither one moved. They had been standing there for 20 minutes while the council argued among themselves in languages that burned the ears. Finally, the largest hologram leaned forward. It was the Sovereign, a being made of pure energy that had lived for thousands of years. Its voice sounded like thunder and wind mixed together. "Humanity," it said. "You have been called here to answer for your crimes." Hana raised one eyebrow. "Crimes? We were not aware of any crimes." "Do not play games with us, human." This voice came from a creature that looked like a floating brain covered in tentacles. "You have expanded into 47 star systems. You have built colonies without permission. You have created military vessels that violate the old treaties." "Treaties we never signed," Hana said calmly. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Clicks, whistles, growls, and sounds that had no human comparison. One of the aliens, a tall being covered in silver scales, slammed its appendage on the table. "This is exactly why you must be stopped. You have no respect for the order that has kept the galaxy peaceful for 5,000 years. Hana smiled, but her smile was cold as ice. "Peace? You mean the peace where you decided who gets what? The peace where old species keep new species small and weak? That kind of peace?" Admiral Quan Day, standing behind Hana, allowed himself a tiny smile. He was an old man now, with gray hair and scars that told stories of battles on Mars and Europa. He had fought in the colony wars. He knew what real war looked like. And he knew these aliens did not. The Sovereign raised one glowing appendage, and the chamber fell silent. "Enough. Humanity. The Council has made its decision. You will reduce your military by 90%. You will abandon all colonies beyond your home system. You will submit to Council oversight. You have 72 hours to comply." The silence that followed was heavy and thick. Hana looked at each council member slowly. Then she spoke in a clear, strong voice. "No." The word echoed in the chamber. Several aliens jerked back as if struck. The Sovereign's light flickered. "What did you say?" "I said no. Humanity respectfully declines your demands." "You cannot decline," the tentacled brain creature thrashed in anger. "No species has ever refused the Council." "Then we will be the first," Hana said. "Earth will not surrender what it has built. We will not reduce our fleet. We will not abandon our people. We will not submit." The Sovereign's light turned red, like a dying star. "Then the galaxy announces war upon Earth. You have chosen extinction." Hana nodded once. "Then Earth will answer." She turned and walked toward the exit. Admiral Quan Day and Captain Sung Tai followed her. The young captain's hand rested on his weapon, though he knew it would do nothing here. Behind them, the council erupted in noise. As they reached their ship, Sung Tai spoke for the first time. "Admiral, they outnumber us 20 to 1, maybe more." Quan Day looked at the young man. Sung Tai was only 30, the youngest fleet captain in Earth's history. He commanded the Indomitable, the newest and most advanced ship in the fleet. "They outnumber what they think is our fleet," Quan Day said quietly. "They have no idea what is waiting in the dark." The ship jumped to faster than light speed, racing back toward Earth. Inside, Hana sat down heavily. Her mask of calm cracked just a little. "It is done," she said. "We tried peace. They gave us war." Quan Dai nodded. He opened a secure channel to Earth. "This is Admiral Quan Day. Authorization code Nightfall 77 Alpha. Activate Protocol Nightfall. I repeat, activate Protocol Nightfall." On Earth, in a bunker deep under Geneva, the message was received. General Bin Wu read it and felt his heart beat faster. He had waited 30 years for this order. 30 years of building in secret. 30 years of preparing for the war everyone hoped would never come. He pressed the button. Across the solar system, lights began to flicker on. In the asteroid belt, Hidden bases powered up. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors opened to reveal shipyards. In the Kuiper Belt, at the edge of the solar system, entire fleets that had been sleeping for decades came alive. In the Oort cloud, where no one ever looked because it was too far and too dark, 300 ships began their journey toward Earth. They had been built in total secrecy, constructed from ice and rock and metal mined from comets. They had no names. They had no markings. They were ghost ships, invisible to every scanner the galaxy had. Engineer Rena Bay stood in the main shipyard on the moon and watched her life's work come to life. The Phantom Drive, she called it. A way to hide ships from every sensor, every detector, every eye. She had spent 15 years developing it. Now it would be tested in real combat. "Will it work?" her assistant asked nervously. Rena smiled. "It already is. There are 200 ships in Earth orbit right now. The Council's spy satellites cannot see a single one." Back on the Council station, the 12 species were meeting again. They were confident. They had numbers. They had technology. They had ancient weapons that had won wars before humans learned to make fire. 3 fleets, the Sovereign announced. 1 to Earth, 1 to Mars, 1 to their gateway at Proxima. "We will crush them quickly and show the rest of the galaxy what happens when you defy us." The silver-scaled alien nodded. "My fleet will take Earth. It will be an honor to end this human problem." "No prisoners," the tentacled brain said. They had their chance for mercy. The fleets gathered. Thousands of ships, each one massive and powerful. They had plasma weapons that could burn planets. They had shields that could stop any attack. They had crews that trained for centuries. But they had never fought humans. Captain Sung Tai stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around him, his crew prepared for battle. They were all young, all volunteers. They knew they might die. They did not care. "Captain," his tactical officer said, "enemy fleet detected. 3,000 ships heading for Earth." Sung Tai nodded. "Good. Engage Phantom Drive. Let us show them what a ghost can do." The Indomitable vanished from every sensor. Around it, 200 other ships did the same. They were there, in space, fully armed and ready. But as far as the galaxy knew, they did not exist. Admiral Quan Day stood in Earth Command, watching the screens. He saw the Council fleets approaching. He saw his own ships disappearing from view. He thought about his grandchildren sleeping peacefully in their beds. They had no idea that war was coming. "Sir," an officer said, "all fleets report ready. Ghost Division is in position. Orbital defenses are armed. We are ready." Quan Day took a deep breath. He thought about all the wars humanity had fought. Wars with sticks and stones. Wars with swords and spears. Wars with guns and bombs. Wars with nuclear fire. Humanity had always survived. They adapted. They endured. They won. "Good," he said. "Let them come. Let them learn what it means to fight Earth." The Council fleets jumped to their targets. They appeared in Earth orbit, around Mars, and at the Proxima Gateway. They powered up their weapons. They prepared to attack. They had no idea they were already surrounded. In the darkness of space, ghost ships watched and waited. Human crews, silent and ready, prepared to spring the trap. The galaxy had announced war. Now Earth would answer. The Council fleet commander was called Thrace. He was a warrior from the silver-scaled species, and he had fought in 50 battles across 200 years. He had never lost. Today would be no different. His flagship hung in space above Earth. Behind him stretched 3,000 ships in perfect formation. They moved together like a school of fish, each one exactly where it should be. It was beautiful. It was traditional. It had worked for 5,000 years. "Scan for human ships," Thrace ordered. His sensor officer worked the controls. "I detect nothing, Commander. No military vessels in range." Thrace laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "They ran away. The humans talk brave, but they are cowards. Begin bombardment of military targets." In Earth Command, Admiral Quan Day watched the Council fleet arrange itself. They were so predictable, so rigid, so stuck in their old ways. They follow the battle doctrine of Craxus, he said to his staff. Written 4,000 years ago. Every movement by the book, every formation perfect, he smiled. Perfect targets. He opened the command channel. All ghost ships, drop stealth, engage at will. In space around the Council fleet, reality changed. Where there had been nothing, ships appeared. Hundreds of them. They materialized like monsters from a nightmare, already firing. The Indomitable appeared directly behind a Council warship. Captain Sung Tae did not hesitate. Fire all weapons. Missiles and laser beams tore into the enemy ship's engines. It exploded in a ball of fire. Before the Council fleet could even react, 20 more ships died the same way. Thrace stared at his screens in shock. Where did they come from? How did they hide from our sensors? Unknown, Commander. They are everywhere. Our formation is breaking. Hold formation, Thrace roared. All ships. Maintain position and return fire. But human ships did not fight in formation. They scattered like leaves in wind, each one moving independently. They used short, faster-than-light jumps, appearing, firing, and vanishing before enemy weapons could track them. One human ship appeared directly in front of Thrace's flagship. It fired a missile, not at the ship, but past it. Thrace laughed. They missed! Then he realized the missile was not a weapon. It was full of metal pieces, ball bearings, and shrapnel, moving at incredible speed. The debris cloud spread out, and Thrace's entire formation flew directly into it. Ships took damage to sensors and weapons. Dozens of small holes appeared in armor. What kind of weapon is this? Thrace demanded. His tactical officer looked terrified. It is not a weapon, Commander. It is a tactic. They turned garbage into a minefield. At Mars, Colonel Bin Wu commanded the Ghost Division. These were humanity's black operations ships, the ones that did not officially exist. They had been practicing ambush tactics for 30 years. The Council fleet at Mars thought they would find a few small colony ships. Instead, they found asteroids that were not asteroids. Entire rocks opened up to reveal weapons platforms. Magnetic cannons threw chunks of metal at near-light speed. Each impact hit with the force of a nuclear bomb. These humans fight without honor, the Council commander at Mars screamed. They hide behind rocks. They use dirty tricks. Bin Wu heard the transmission and smiled. Dirty tricks? No, we call it being smart. He ordered his ships to fire again. At Proxima Centauri, the Council made their worst mistake. The gateway station looked small and poorly defended. They thought it would be easy. What they did not know was that humanity had spent 20 years turning Proxima into a fortress. Every asteroid had weapons. Every satellite was a bomb. The station itself was surrounded by mines that could not be detected until they exploded. The Council fleet jumped in and immediately lost 100 ships to the mines. Then the asteroids opened fire. Then the station itself revealed massive cannons that should not exist. Captain Leah Kang commanded the defense. Her carrier, the Valiant, launched 200 small fighters. They swarmed the Council ships like angry bees, too small to hit easily but deadly in numbers. For Earth, Leah shouted, and her pilots echoed the cry. Back above Earth, Thrace was learning that numbers meant nothing if you could not hit your target. His 3,000 ships were fighting 200 human vessels, and he was losing. They jump away before we can lock weapons. They appear behind us. They use tactics we have never seen. Engineer Rena Bay watched from the moon station, monitoring her phantom drive systems. Every human ship had one. It bent light and sensor waves around the ship, making it invisible. But more than that, it was designed to confuse and trick. They are trying to scan us, her assistant reported. They are looking for a pattern. Let them look, Rena said. They are searching for technology. They do not understand that our real weapon is how we think. On Earth, Dr. Era Song watched the battle from her laboratory. She was a scientist who studied alien biology and psychology. She had spent years learning how Council species thought. They cannot adapt, she explained to her students. They have fought the same way for thousands of years. They have protocols and rules and honor. Humans have none of that. We change. We improvise. We do whatever works. Is that not wrong? A student asked. Fighting without honor? Ara shook her head. Honor is a luxury for species that can afford to lose. Earth cannot afford to lose. So we fight to win. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships appeared and vanished. They used rocks as shields and turned civilian cargo ships into bombs. They broadcast fake signals to confuse enemy targeting. They played music on enemy frequencies to annoy them. The Indomitable took heavy damage when 3 council ships surrounded it. Sung Tae's bridge was on fire. Half his crew was dead. But he refused to surrender. Ramming speed, he ordered. Captain, that will kill us, his navigator shouted. Better to die fighting than live in chains. Full power to engines. The Indomitable accelerated directly at the council flagship. Thrace saw it coming and could not believe it. They would not dare. They would die. They are humans, his tactical officer whispered. They dare anything. At the last second, Sung Tae launched every escape pod. The Indomitable, now an unmanned missile, smashed into the flagship at tremendous speed. The impact tore both ships apart in nuclear fire. Sung Tae's pod tumbled through space. He was bleeding and hurt, but alive. A human rescue ship found him an hour later. The flagship? He asked weakly. Destroyed, sir. You killed it. Sung Tae smiled and passed out. By the 10th hour, the council fleets were broken. At Earth, only 500 ships remained of 3,000. At Mars, the fleet retreated in chaos. At Proxima, not a single council ship survived. Thrace, now commanding from a smaller ship because his flagship was destroyed, finally gave the order to retreat. As his fleet jumped away, he heard a transmission on all frequencies. It was Admiral Quan Day's voice, calm and cold. People of the galaxy, you have seen what happens when you attack Earth. You came with thousands of ships. You came with ancient weapons. You came with confidence. You came to destroy us. Instead, you have learned a lesson. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not bow. Humanity fights. And when we fight to win. This was one battle. You have seen what we can do when you come to us. Now imagine what we can do when we come to you. The message ended. Across the galaxy, 1 billion beings heard it and felt fear for the first time. On the council station, the 12 species met an emergency session. The Sovereign's light was dim and weak. How did this happen? How did humans defeat us? The tentacled brain creature spoke quietly. We studied their history. They have fought each other for their entire existence. They know 1,000 ways to kill. They have destroyed themselves over and over and always survived. We thought this made them weak. We were wrong. It made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. What do we do now? The silver-scaled representative asked. The Sovereign was silent for a long moment. We call the Grand Armada. Every ship, every species. We destroy Earth completely, or we surrender to them. There is no middle path now. The vote was unanimous. The Grand Armada would gather 10,000 ships, maybe more, the largest fleet in galactic history. They would go to Earth. They would end humanity once and for all. But on Earth, Quan Day was already planning his next move. He looked at the star map, showing all the council homeworlds. They will gather their armada, he said. Good. While they come here, we will go there. His officers looked confused. Sir, we will attack their homes. We will destroy their shipyards. We will burn their supply lines. When their armada arrives at Earth, they will find that they have no home to return to. One officer hesitated. Admiral, that is total war. That is not just military targets. Quan Day looked at the young man with tired eyes. They declared total war on us. They came to exterminate humanity. Now they will learn what total war truly means. They will learn that you do not threaten Earth's children. The officer saluted. Yes, sir. For Earth. For Earth, Quan Day agreed. The war had only just begun. The shipyard orbited a blue giant star, far from Earth. It was the pride of the silver-scaled species, a massive construction facility that built warships. It had existed for 2,000 years. It had never been attacked. That changed at 0400 station time. 20 human ships appeared from nowhere, their phantom drives disengaging all at once. They did not send warnings. They did not make demands. They simply opened fire. Colonel Bin Wu watched from his command ship as missiles streaked toward the shipyard. The station's defenses came online, but too slowly. Human planning was precise. They had studied schedules, guard rotations, shift changes. They attacked when the station was weakest. All ships, target the reactor cores, Bin Wu ordered. We are not here to occupy. We are here to destroy. The shipyard exploded in sections. Each reactor that died took 100 workers with it. It was brutal. It was necessary. War did not care about mercy. A communication came in from the station. Please stop. We have civilians here, families. Bin Wu's face was stone. You voted to exterminate Earth. You voted to kill our families. This is your answer. He cut the communication. The attack continued. When it was over, the shipyard was debris. 2,000 years of history gone in 20 minutes. Jump to next target, Bin Wu ordered. His ships vanished, leaving only fire behind. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Human strike teams hit 40 targets in the first week. Shipyards burned. Communication relays went silent. Resource mines collapsed. Training facilities for Council military vanished in nuclear fire. Commander Nari Chai led the Cyber Warfare Division. Her job was different, but equally important. While physical ships destroyed physical targets, Nari's team attacked through networks and systems. She sat in a dark room on Earth, her fingers dancing across holographic keyboards. Around her, 50 of humanity's best hackers worked in silence. They were infiltrating Council networks, planting viruses, stealing data. I am in, one of her team members said. Access to the orbital defense platform above their capital world. Good, Nari said. Upload Trojan 7. The virus was elegant and cruel. It told the defense platform that human ships were everywhere, hundreds of them, all attacking. The platform fired at targets that did not exist. It wasted ammunition on ghosts. When Council ships arrived to investigate, the platform's confused systems marked them as enemies and fired on them instead. Their own defenses are destroying their ships, Nari's assistant said, watching the screens with wide eyes. Efficiency, Nari said without emotion. Why waste our missiles when we can use theirs? At another target, Captain Sung Tae had recovered from his injuries and received a new ship. This one was called the Relentless. He commanded a raid on a Council fuel depot. Plasma fuel, his tactical officer reported. Enough to power their fleet for a year. Then we take it from them, Sung Tae said. Boarding teams, prepare to launch. Human soldiers in powered armor shot across space, magnetic boots clamping onto the depot's hull. They cut through armor with plasma torches and stormed inside. The fighting was close and vicious. Council guards had energy weapons. Humans had projectile weapons that punched through walls. A guard shot at Sung Tae's sergeant. The plasma bolt melted through the man's armor and killed him instantly. The sergeant's squad did not hesitate. They filled the corridor with bullets until nothing moved. Depot secure, the squad leader reported. Casualties, 3 dead, 7 wounded. Sung Tae closed his eyes briefly. 3 more names for the memorial. 3 more families to notify, but the mission was not over. Plant charges, he ordered. Set timers for 30 minutes. That gives civilians time to evacuate. Sir, the order said no survivors. My ship, my rules, Sung Tae said coldly. Civilians get a chance to run. Military personnel do not. Plant the charges. The depot exploded half an hour later, its fuel creating a fireball that could be seen from the planet below. Sung Tae watched it burn and thought about the sergeant who died. War took everything from everyone. Back on Earth, Dr. Era Song was working on a different kind of weapon. She studied the psychology of Council species and found weaknesses. The silver-scaled species has a rigid honor code, she explained to Admiral Kwande. If we challenge their leaders to single combat and they refuse, their own people will see them as cowards. We cannot win single combat against them, Kwande said. They are stronger and faster. Ara smiled. We do not need to win. We need them to refuse. Then we broadcast their refusal across the galaxy. Their warriors will lose faith in their leaders. Psychological warfare. Kwande nodded. Good. Make it happen. The challenge was sent. The silver-scaled leader refused, as expected. The refusal was broadcast everywhere. Within days, reports came of internal conflict in the silver-scaled military. Soldiers questioned orders. Some deserted. Some even helped humans in secret. One species divided, Ara said. 11 more to go. Engineer Rena Bay had a new project. The Phantom Drive worked perfectly, but now she wanted something better. She called it the ecosystem. Instead of just hiding our ships, we create false signals, she explained to her team. The enemy will see one human ship, but their sensors will show 10. They will not know which is real. Will it work? Her assistant asked. We test it tonight, Rena said. Target, Council listening post in the Vega system. One human ship jumped into Vega space. Its ecosystem activated. Suddenly, Council sensors showed 10 ships appearing, all in different locations. The listening post panicked and called for help. Council response ships arrived to find nothing. The post reported 10 enemy ships. The response ships saw only empty space. When they accused the post of incompetence, the post personnel grew angry. Meanwhile, the real human ship, hidden by its phantom drive, destroyed the post while everyone argued. By the time the Council ships realized what happened, the human vessel was gone. Perfect, Rena said, watching the recordings. They will never know what is real and what is illusion. But the raids were costly. Not every mission succeeded. Captain Lia Kang led an attack on a military academy and walked into a trap. The Council had expected her. Ambush! Her tactical officer screamed as enemy ships appeared from hyperspace. Lia's carrier took heavy damage. She lost 3 of her escort ships in the first minute. Her fighter squadrons launched but faced overwhelming numbers. All ships, emergency jump, Lia ordered. Coordinates random, regroup at rally point 7. Her ships scattered, jumping to different locations. The tactic saved them, but barely. When they regrouped, Lia counted her losses. 147 pilots dead, 3 ships destroyed, the carrier damaged badly. We failed, her second-in-command said quietly. No, Lia said firmly. We survived. We learned. Next time we will be ready. She reported the trap to Earth Command. Admiral Quan Day updated tactics based on her experience. Other strike teams learned from Lia's mistakes. That was how humans fought. They adapted. They learned. They improved. By the 4th week of the campaign, the Council was in chaos. Their military was stretched across the galaxy, trying to defend everything and therefore defending nothing well. Their economy was collapsing. Ships could not be built. Fuel could not be transported. Communication was unreliable. More importantly, the Council species were questioning the war. Why were they dying for the Sovereign's pride? Why attack humanity at all? Protests began on core worlds. Some governments withdrew their ships from the Grand Armada. The tentacled brain species actually contacted Earth in secret. We wish to discuss peace terms, they transmitted. Ambassador Hana Yu took the call personally. Tell your council we will discuss peace when they surrender completely. Not before. But the Grand Armada approaches Earth. 10,000 ships. You cannot win. Then come and try, Hana said. We will be waiting. She ended the transmission and looked at Admiral Kwande. They are scared. Good, Kwande said. Fear makes people think clearly. Maybe they will realize this war was a mistake. But the Sovereign was not scared. The Sovereign was angry. It pushed the Grand Armada forward, demanding total victory. 10,000 ships from 12 species gathered and began the journey to Earth. Colonel Bin Wu received orders to return to Earth for the defense. His Ghost Division had struck 50 targets successfully. They had lost 12 ships and 300 personnel, but they had crippled the Council's ability to wage war. Time to go home, Bin Wu told his fleet. The final battle approaches. As human strike teams retreated to Earth, they left burning ruins behind them. The Council had wanted war. They had received it, in a form they never imagined. Not glorious battle in space with fleets in formation, but brutal strikes in the dark, attacks on infrastructure, psychological warfare, and cyber attacks. Commander Nari Chai uploaded one final virus before the Armada arrived. This one was special. It would activate when the Armada jumped to Earth. It would scramble their communications, making coordination nearly impossible. A parting gift, Nari said with a cold smile. Captain Sung Tai stood on the bridge of the Relentless as it jumped back to Earth space. Below, he saw his homeworld, blue and beautiful. Around it, thousands of human ships gathered. More than the Council knew existed. Ships that had been hidden for decades, now revealing themselves. All ships reporting in, his communications officer said. The fleet is assembled. Sung Tai looked at the tactical display. Earth's defenses were ready. The moon bristled with weapons. Mars held strong. The asteroid belt had become a minefield. Even the sun itself had been turned into a weapon, with platforms ready to channel its power. Let them come, Sung Tai said quietly. Let them see what happens when you threaten humanity's home. Admiral Quan Day stood in Earth Command, watching the same displays. His gray hair seemed grayer now. His face showed lines of stress and sleepless nights, but his eyes were sharp and clear. Status? He asked. All fleets in position, sir. Ghost Division returned. Strike teams accounted for. Orbital defenses at full power. We are ready. Quan Day nodded. The raids had succeeded beyond hope. The Council was divided and weak, but the Armada was still coming, still dangerous. Then we wait, he said, and when they arrive, we show them that attacking Earth was the greatest mistake in galactic history. The countdown began. The Grand Armada would arrive in 48 hours. Earth prepared for the largest battle humanity had ever fought. The battle that would decide if humans survived or became extinct. The galaxy held its breath and waited. The Grand Armada appeared at the edge of the solar system like a storm made of metal and fire. 10,000 ships, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. They emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, stretching across space in a wall of destruction. On Earth, every sensor detected them. Every screen showed the impossible numbers. In cities across the planet, people looked up at the sky and knew their world faced extinction. Admiral Quan Day stood in Earth Command, looking at the tactical display. His staff waited for orders. The old man was silent for a long moment, thinking about his grandchildren. They were in a shelter deep underground. Would they see tomorrow? Activate solar protocol, he said finally. Around Earth's sun, hidden platforms came online. They had been built in secret over 15 years, disguised as research stations. Now they revealed their true purpose. They began to manipulate the sun's magnetic field, carefully directing a coronal mass ejection. The sun responded. A massive flare erupted, channeled by the platforms into a focused beam of radiation and plasma. It shot across space like the finger of an angry god. The Armada's vanguard had no warning. 3,000 ships in the front ranks were hit by stellar fire. Shields meant to stop weapons could not stop a star. Ships melted. Crews died instantly. The front third of the Armada simply ceased to exist. In the Armada's flagship, the Sovereign watched in disbelief. Impossible. They weaponized a star. Casualties. 3,000 ships lost, a tactical officer reported, voice shaking. Continue the advance, the Sovereign ordered. They cannot do that again. The sun needs time to recharge. The Sovereign was correct. But humanity had more than one trick. In the Kuiper Belt, Colonel Bin Wu's Ghost Division waited among the ice and rock. The Armada had to pass through this region. Human ships, cold and dark, were invisible against the frozen void. Wait for it, Bin Wu whispered into his comm. Let them get close. The Armada entered the Kuiper Belt, sensors scanning for threats. They found nothing. Ice and rock and emptiness. Now, Bin Wu said. 1,000 human ships lit up their engines simultaneously, but they did not attack. Instead, they activated powerful magnets and started moving asteroids and comets. Huge chunks of ice, some as large as cities, began accelerating toward the Armada. "What are they doing?" the Sovereign demanded. The answer came seconds later. The ice chunks, moving at tremendous speed, smashed into Armada ships. Ice shattered into billions of pieces, each one moving like a bullet. Ships took damage to sensors and weapons. Hulls were punctured. Some ships lost power completely. Then, while the Armada was blind and confused, Bin Wu's ships attacked for real. Missiles and lasers tore into damaged vessels. Ships that survived the ice died to human weapons. "They fight like animals," a council commander screamed. "No honor, no rules." "They fight to win," Bin Wu replied on open frequency. "That is the only rule that matters." The Armada pushed through the Kuiper Belt, losing another 1,000 ships. 7,000 remained. Still overwhelming numbers, still deadly. At the asteroid belt, Commander Narration put her cyber weapon to use. As the Armada approached, she activated the virus she had planted in their systems. Suddenly, Council ships could not communicate properly. Orders were garbled. Coordination broke down. "Maintain formation," the Sovereign ordered. But half the ships did not receive the message. The other half received it 3 times. Then, Nari activated the second part of her plan. The asteroids themselves came alive. Hidden human bases, built into the rocks over decades, powered up their weapons. Magnetic cannons threw metal at near light speed. Each shot hit with nuclear force. The Armada tried to return fire, but they were shooting at rocks. Human bases were buried deep inside asteroids. Destroying them meant destroying entire asteroids, and there were thousands of them. Captain Lia Kang's carrier, the Valiant, led the Mars defense. Her ship had been repaired after the ambush, but still bore scars. She did not care. Earth needed her. "Launch all fighters," she ordered. 200 small craft shot from the carrier's bays. They formed into wolf packs, each pack targeting one Armada ship. The Council had larger, more powerful fighters, but human pilots were crazy. One pilot, a young woman named Hannah Park, flew her fighter directly at an enemy battleship. The battleship's point defense guns tracked her, firing hundreds of shots. Hannah dodged and weaved, her reflexes pushed beyond human limits by the drugs in her system. She got close enough to fire every missile she had directly into the battleship's engine. Then she pulled up hard, pushing her fighter beyond its limits. The G-forces made her vision tunnel, made her bones creak, but she survived. Behind her, the battleship exploded. "Target destroyed," Hannah reported calmly, though her hands shook on the controls. "Engaging next target." At Mars, the orbital defenses fired continuously. The red planet had been turned into a fortress. Every moon was armed. Every space station was a weapon platform. The Armada found no easy victory here, but they kept coming. 6,000 ships now pushing toward Earth. They had lost nearly half their force, but Earth's inner system was undefended, or so they thought. Captain Sung Tae commanded a squadron of 50 ships hidden behind Luna, Earth's moon. They had been waiting in silence, engines cold, for this exact moment. The Armada rounded the moon, heading for Earth. They saw the homeworld of humanity, blue and beautiful and defenseless. "Fire everything," Sung Tae ordered. His ships appeared and unleashed every weapon simultaneously. Missiles, lasers, railgun rounds, plasma bolts. 50 ships firing as one. The Armada's rearguard collapsed under the surprise attack. Then Luna itself fired. The moon's mass drivers, built to launch cargo into space, had been modified. They now threw solid metal slugs, each one weighing tons at incredible speed. When they hit, ships simply ceased to exist. Engineer Rena Bay watched from Luna Base as her weapons worked perfectly. "Moonshots," she called them. Simple, brutal, effective. The moon was firing itself at the enemy. "Reload and fire again," she ordered her crews. "Do not stop until they are all dead or we are." The Armada was down to 5,000 ships. They entered Earth's orbit and prepared for final assault. This was the moment. Either humanity died, or the Council did. Admiral Quan Day activated the final defense. Around Earth, in geosynchronous orbit, 300 platforms had been waiting. They were armed with experimental weapons based on alien technology humanity had captured and improved. Quantum disruptor cannons. They did not destroy ships. They made them cease to exist on a quantum level. Matter simply stopped being matter. The effect was terrifying. Council ships began to fade, becoming transparent, then vanishing completely. Crews died without even knowing they were under attack. "What is this weapon?" the Sovereign screamed. "This is impossible." "Everything humans do is impossible," Quande replied on all frequencies. "That is why you will lose." But even with all Earth's defenses, the numbers were overwhelming. 4,000 Armada ships remained, and they began bombardment. Plasma beams struck Earth's shields. Nuclear missiles were intercepted, but some got through. In New Seoul, a residential district vanished in nuclear fire. 3 million people died in an instant. In Berlin, another strike. In Lagos, in Tokyo. Earth was bleeding. Admiral Quande felt each death like a knife to his heart. But he could not stop, could not surrender. He thought of his grandchildren in their shelter and prayed they survived. "All remaining ships," he ordered. "Engage the enemy, protect Earth at all costs." Every human ship in the solar system converged on Earth. Ghost Division, battered but unbroken. Carrier groups from Mars and Proxima. The experimental ships from Luna. Even civilian craft, armed with whatever weapons they could carry. Captain Sung Tae's Relentless took a direct hit from 3 council ships. His bridge exploded. Half his crew died instantly. But the ship kept fighting, its AI system taking control when humans could not. Sung Tae lay on the floor of his ruined bridge, blood pouring from a head wound. He could barely see, barely think. But he could speak. "All hands," he whispered into his comm. "This is your captain. We do not surrender. We do not retreat. We fight until we cannot fight anymore. For Earth, for humanity. For every person who ever looked at the stars and dreamed." His ship died 10 minutes later, ramming itself into the Armada flagship where the Sovereign commanded. The impact tore both ships apart. Sung Tae died, but he took the Sovereign with him. With their supreme leader dead, the Council species began to panic. The silver-scaled commander tried to take charge, but the tentacled brain species refused orders. The species that looked like giant insects wanted to retreat. The species made of crystal thought they should negotiate. The Armada began to fall apart. "They are breaking!" Rena Bay shouted from Luna. "Their coordination is collapsing." Quande saw it too. The perfect formations were gone. Ships were acting independently, some fighting, some fleeing, some just drifting in confusion. "Press the attack," he ordered. "Show no mercy. They came to exterminate us. Let them feel what extinction looks like." For 6 more hours the battle raged. Human ships, outnumbered but fighting with desperate fury, tore into the dying Armada. The Council ships, without leadership and with communications sabotaged, could not coordinate defense. When the firing finally stopped, only 700 Council ships remained. They were damaged, low on ammunition, and in full retreat. Human casualties were equally terrible. Half of Earth's fleet was destroyed. Millions of civilians were dead. Entire cities were ruins. But Earth survived. In Earth Command, Admiral Quande sat down heavily. He was old and tired and had seen too much death. But he had one more job to do. He opened a communication channel to all Council species, broadcasting on every frequency. "This is Admiral Quande of Earth Command. The Grand Armada is destroyed. The Sovereign is dead. Your attempt to exterminate humanity has failed. Now, you will listen to our terms. Unconditional surrender. All Council forces will stand down immediately. Any species that continues to fight will face total war. We will come to your homeworlds. We will destroy your fleets. We will teach you what it means to threaten Earth's children." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But if you choose peace, we will accept. We did not want this war. You forced it upon us. We are willing to forgive if you are willing to learn. The choice is yours. You have 24 hours to decide." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, the 12 Council species met in emergency session. The Sovereign was dead. Their armada was destroyed. And humanity, battered but unbroken, waited for their answer. The Council chamber was different now. Where 12 species once sat in judgment of humanity, now only 11 remained. The Sovereign's seat was empty, dark, silent. A reminder of what pride and arrogance had cost. 23 hours and 47 minutes after Admiral Quan Day's ultimatum, the Council sent their response. It was not broadcast. It was not public. It was a simple, encrypted message to Earth Command. We surrender. Quan Day read the message 3 times, making sure he understood. Then he closed his eyes and felt something break inside him. Relief. Grief. Exhaustion. All the emotions he had locked away during the war came flooding back. "Sir," his aide asked quietly, "your orders?" "Ceasefire," Quan Day said, his voice rough. "All human forces, stand down. Do not fire unless fired upon. The war is over." The message went out across the solar system, across human-controlled space, to every ship and station. For a moment, no one believed it. Then, slowly, humans began to understand. They had survived. They had won. In what remained of New Seoul, people emerged from shelters to find their city in ruins. 3 million dead, neighborhoods turned to ash and glass. But they were alive. They started digging through rubble, looking for survivors, beginning the long work of rebuilding. On Luna, engineer Rena Bay shut down her mass drivers and sat in silence. Her hands shook. She had killed thousands, maybe tens of thousands, with her weapons. It had been necessary. That did not make it easier. Her assistant touched her shoulder gently. "It is over. We can go home." "Home," Rena whispered. "Yes. Home." Colonel Bin Wu gathered his Ghost Division for one final mission. They had lost 60 ships during the war, nearly a third of their force. But they had done their job. Now, they had a different task. "We go to Council space," Bin Wu told his captains. "Not to fight, to witness. They will sign surrender documents and we will be there to make sure they do." Captain Leah Kang stood on the bridge of the Valiant, looking at the wreckage floating around Earth. So many ships, human and alien alike, destroyed. So many people dead. Her fighters had won their battles, but the cost made her sick. "Captain," her communications officer said, "message from Earth. They are asking for volunteers to help with rescue operations." Leah straightened. "All ships, this is the Valiant. We are going to help save lives. Launch all rescue shuttles. Find survivors in the wreckage. Human or alien, it does not matter. We save everyone we can." It was the right thing to do. It was what made humans different. Ambassador Hana Yu traveled to the council station for the surrender ceremony. She wore black, the color of mourning. Earth had won, but millions of humans were dead. This was not a day for celebration. The council representatives looked broken. They had believed themselves superior, untouchable. Now they knew better. The tentacled brain species could barely speak. The silver-scaled representatives' colors were dull and faded. They had been humbled. "The terms," Hana said, placing a datapad on the table. "Read them." The tentacled brain representative read aloud. "Complete recognition of all human territories. Formal apology and reparations. Restructuring of the Galactic Council to include human representation. Mutual Defense Pact. Shared technology and trade agreements." "These are harsh terms," the silver-scaled representative said quietly. "You tried to exterminate us," Hana replied coldly. "These terms are mercy. Sign them, or we resume the war and you will face total destruction." One by one, the council representatives signed. It took 3 hours. When it was done, Hana transmitted the documents to Earth. "It is official," she told Admiral Quan Day over secure channel. "The war is over. We have won." Quan Day allowed himself a small smile. "No one wins a war like this, but we survived. That will have to be enough." On Earth, in a military hospital, a doctor entered a recovery room. Captain Sung Tae lay in a medical bed, wrapped in bandages. He had been found in an escape pod, more dead than alive, but humans were stubborn about dying. "Captain," the doctor said, "you have a visitor." Admiral Kwan Dae entered the room. He looked at the young man who had rammed his ship into the enemy flagship, killing the sovereign and turning the tide of battle. "You should be dead," Kwan Dae said. "I am too stubborn to die, sir," Sung Tai replied weakly. "Did we win?" "We survived. That is better than winning." Sung Tai closed his eyes. "Good. That is good." 2 weeks later, Earth held a memorial service. In orbit above the planet, a new structure had been built. The Wall of Names. Every human who died in the war would be remembered. Millions of names carved in stone and metal floating in space forever. Admiral Kwan Dae stood before the wall with his grandchildren. They were young, too young to understand what had happened, but they were alive because of the people whose names covered the wall. "Why did they die, grandfather?" his granddaughter asked. Kwan Dae knelt down to her level. "They died so you could live. They died so Earth could remain free. Never forget them. Never forget what they gave." "I will remember," the little girl promised. "Always." The rebuilding began. New soul would rise from the ashes. New ships would replace those lost. But the galaxy itself was changing. Dr. Era Song established the Interspecies Cultural Exchange. Her job was to help council species understand humanity and help humans understand the galaxy. It was slow, difficult work, but necessary. "They feared us because they did not know us," Ara explained to her first class of council students. "You thought we were violent animals. You did not see that we are also kind, creative, and hopeful. You only saw our capacity to destroy. Now, you will see our capacity to build." The students, beings from across the galaxy, listened and learned. Some would become allies. Some would become friends. All would carry home a new understanding. Commander Nari Chai faced a different challenge. The Council wanted human cyber technology. They wanted to understand how their systems had been so easily compromised. "No," Nari said firmly. "That stays secret. You do not get to use our weapons." "But the treaty says we share technology," a council representative protested. "We will share peaceful technology, medical, agricultural, environmental, but weapons stay with us. You attacked Earth. You do not get Earth's weapons." Eventually, the council agreed. Some things would remain human secrets. Engineer Rena Bay worked on her greatest project yet. A new type of ship, designed not for war but for exploration. The Phantom Drive would help humans explore the galaxy safely. The weapons would be removed. In their place, scientific instruments. "We fought to survive," Rena told her team. "Now we build to thrive." 6 months after the war ended, the Galactic Council officially reformed. It was no longer 12 species ruling over all others. Now it was a representative body where every species, including humanity, had a voice. Ambassador Hana Yu took her seat as Earth's first council representative. She looked around the chamber at beings who had been enemies. Some still were in their hearts. But they would learn to work together. "This council was built on fear and control," Hana said in her first speech. "We will rebuild it on cooperation and respect. The galaxy is large enough for all of us. But if any species ever again tries to dominate or destroy another, Earth will remember, and we will act." It was both promise and threat. The galaxy understood both. 1 year after the war, a ceremony was held on Earth. The rebuilt United Terran Command Building stood tall and proud, a symbol of humanity's resilience. Admiral Kwan Dae was being promoted to Fleet Admiral, the highest rank in human military. He accepted the promotion but announced his retirement immediately after. "I am an old man who has seen too much war," he told the assembly. "Let younger people guide humanity now. People who remember the war but were not broken by it." Captain Sung Tai, promoted to Commodore, took command of Earth's new flagship. It was called the Phoenix, named for the mythical bird that rose from ashes. It was appropriate. Colonel Bin Wu became head of intelligence, using his Ghost Division experience to keep Earth safe. Captain Leah Kang commanded the carrier fleet, training new pilots. Engineer Rena Bay designed civilian ships. Commander Nari Chai protected human networks. Dr. Ara Song built bridges between species. Earth moved forward. Not forgetting, never forgetting, but not dwelling on the past either. Humanity looked to the stars with hope again. 5 years after the war, Admiral Quan Day visited the Wall of Names one last time. He was dying, his body finally giving out after 80 years of life and too much stress. He touched the cold metal, feeling the names under his fingers. "We did it," he whispered. "We survived. We proved that humanity belongs among the stars." His granddaughter, now 10 years old, stood beside him. "Grandfather, tell me the story about how Earth answered." Quan Day smiled. It was a story he had told many times. The galaxy announced war. They came with thousands of ships. They came with ancient weapons. They came to destroy us. But Earth did not surrender, his granddaughter said, knowing the story by heart. No. Earth answered with its deadliest fleet. Not the biggest fleet, not the most advanced, but the deadliest. Because humans fight differently. We do not follow rules. We do not give up. We adapt, we improvise, we survive. And we won. Yes, child. We won, not because we were stronger, but because we refused to lose. The old admiral looked up at the stars, visible through the transparent dome. Somewhere out there, council species were rebuilding. Somewhere out there, new species were discovering faster than light travel. Somewhere out there, the galaxy continued turning. And Earth, humanity's home, stood ready. Ready to defend itself if threatened. Ready to help others if asked. Ready for whatever came next. The war had changed everything. The galaxy learned that humanity could not be conquered. Council species learned that rules and traditions meant nothing against determination and creativity. Earth learned that it could stand against impossible odds and survive. But more importantly, everyone learned that peace was better than war. That cooperation was better than domination. That the galaxy was big enough for all of them. Admiral Quan Day died peacefully 2 days later, surrounded by family. He was buried with full military honors on Luna, near the Wall of Names. His last words were simple: "We made Earth proud." The galaxy agreed. Humanity had proven itself. Not just as warriors, though, they were deadly in battle. But as survivors, builders, dreamers. As a species that looked at extinction and said, "No." Years became decades. Decades became centuries. The war became history, then legend, then myth. But humanity never forgot. Every human child learned the story. Every human ship carried a memorial. Every human settlement had a wall with names. They remembered because memory was important. They remembered because the dead deserved it. They remembered because forgetting meant it could happen again. And if it did happen again, if some other species decided humanity needed to be controlled or destroyed, they would learn what the Council learned. That when you attack Earth, when you threaten humanity's home and children, you do not face an army. You face an entire species that refuses to die. The galaxy announced war. Earth answered with its deadliest fleet. And Earth would answer again if it ever became necessary. But for now, there was peace. Hard-won, blood-bought, precious peace. And that was enough.